This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. My guest today is Justin Banon. Justin is the co-founder of the Boson Protocol, which describes itself as Web3's commerce layer. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Great to have you here, Justin. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. A lot of people will know who you are and a little bit about the Boson Protocol, but for those that don't, we'll learn all about that today. Can we begin, please, by getting you just to introduce yourself? Love to hear just a little bit of your personal backstory in the lead up to co-founding the Boson Protocol.
Sure. Well, I started out quite some time ago. I did a physics degree, so it was kind of quite geeky in that way. But I ended up working for a company called Priority Pass, who basically sold like airport lounge visits and using paper and plastic vouchers. And I did a master's in digital really early, and I thought, what happens if we digitize these vouchers? That turned out to be a really good idea. Grew that company from about 50 million to about $1 billion turnover, with selling these like digitized vouchers all across like the travel space. And then I did a second master's and in blockchain, and I thought, okay, what happens if now we go from paper and plastic to digital to blockchain vouchers for representing real world products and services. But discovered there's this kind of real fundamental problem of if you're going to issue these vouchers, then in blockchain, you don't want to just have to rely or trust the issuer is going to kind of, honor the voucher. You need some sort of trustless mechanism to enable this. And that, as it turned out, was a really fundamental problem in kind of blockchain, which is, how to enable commerce transactions in a trust minimized way without trusted sellers and without trusted intermediaries. And so discovered this like real hard problem that I was probably reasonably well equipped to tackle. Left that role right in the middle of the last crypto winter, and founded Boson Protocol.
Very nice, Justin. So I'm curious though, was Boson Protocol, because I think you're on version 2 at the moment, was there a little bit of a pivot along the way?
Yeah, I mean, so version 1 of the protocol was sort of mainly designed by me and my co-founder, who's a sort of technical co-founder. And we launched version 1, over 18 months ago now. And we use that protocol to sell, thousands of items in Metaverse Fashion Week for brands like Tommy Hilfiger, Hogan, and etc. That version really demonstrated that it was possible to do commerce in this sort of trust minimized way by creating these like redeemable NFT vouchers that are redeemable for physical items. But in parallel, we'd sort of we'd raised some money in a sort of ICO and recruited this incredible team. So like our protocol designer also works for Ethereum Foundation designing ETH2. We have as an advisor like Dr. Primavera de Filippi, who wrote Blockchain in the Law, teaches blockchain law at Harvard, so on all the techno-legal innovation, and just like this incredible team. So they basically took version 1 of the protocol, which was feasible, and just completely reinvented it to be far simpler, easier to understand, far more efficient, and turned it into this, what we call like an optimistic protocol. Well, basically, if everything goes okay between the buyer and seller, it's just the protocol hardly gets involved at all. And it's just the protocol is there in the event that there's any departures from the happy path. So really going from, I think a good prototype and probably the best design I could come up with to, just an incredible protocol design by literally the best team on the planet. Yeah.
Got it. I like it. All right. Well, so Justin, if the Boson Protocol then is designed to enable the tokenization, transfer, and trade of essentially, eventually any physical thing as an NFT, just explain and I suppose just at a top level why that is kind of a revolutionary idea or yeah, and just what I would describe as, I suppose, layman's terms
Yeah.
for someone who's not necessarily crypto native. Why should that be such an interesting idea to them?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at what crypto and decentralization, what's core to this technology is the fact that it removes the need to trust intermediaries and humans, right? So if I send you, a Bitcoin to your wallet now, I can't reverse that and nobody can take that away from you. Unlike, if I were to send you like, $100 from bank to bank, potentially. And so the whole of like crypto is built on these systems that are kind of what we call trustless, and the code executes and it's immutable. So to extend those principles beyond just transferring financial value to actually be able to do like commercial trade of products, is the big problem that Boson addresses, right? So how can I send you now a physical item in a way that has exactly the same properties as if I sent you a Bitcoin, right? Where, you can just trust the code that either you'll get the item or your money back. You don't need to trust an intermediary, etc. And, obviously commerce has been kind of really sort of captured, if you like, by these huge intermediaries like, Amazon and eBay, etc. And, is it possible for us to enable those kind of transactions where buyers have this assurance, and sellers too, that the transaction will either go through as planned or there will be some sort of, pre-agreed outcome. And so, that's the big problem that Boson addresses. And if you think, if you agree with the thesis that Web3 is building kind of the rails of upon which future civilization is going to be built, then it's really important that Web3 can handle not just exchanging digital value, but physical value as well. Otherwise, it's going to be, okay, Web3 is this really cool set of technologies, digital to digital. But the moment you want to do anything in the real world, you still need this intermediary or this bridge, or you need to trust these people, et cetera, et cetera. And so the extent of Web3 is what's at stake here. And so that's why, Boson is sort of lauded this really kind of fundamental technology. So we were awarded sort of technology pioneer status by the World Economic Forum. And we recently just had the world's #1 blockchain economist, Professor Jason Potts, just did a whole sort of article write-up that the World Economic Forum published about how technologies like, and especially Boson, enable an entirely new type of economy where, if you think the analog economy, we would exchange paper money and it was like, it's analog and it was very dumb. But this digital economy, where I can transfer money to you and make payments with credit cards, okay, it's digital, but it's still really dumb, right? It's still sending money one way and there's no, nothing smart about that. But what Web3 enables is this kind of like programmable economy with programmable commerce and what Professor Potts calls like a Turing complete economy. So when we can send and do exchanges of value with rules encoded within the substrate, then that economy actually becomes like programmable. It becomes like Turing complete. So these are all kind of really important foundational technologies towards this entirely new sort of programmable, executable economy.
Yes, indeed. And it's fascinating, Justin, because you at the beginning of the show, you described yourself as I don't know, tending towards the geeky side. I think you studied physics, and you're obviously, let's just in a polite way say, a blockchain nerd, which is fantastic.
Mhm.
That's obviously why you're on the show, why you're doing the podcast. But one of the first times that the Boson Protocol became, known or appeared on, let's say, the mainstream radar, I think it was back in 2021, wasn't it? And that was because you made NFT history, I think, by acquiring the glass suit, which was famously designed by Dolce and Gabbana, who kind of, one of the world's leading fashion houses. And then since then, Boson Protocol, you've done all these various, I don't know, let's say, kind of fashion NFT events and collections and so on. So I guess I'm just interested in, the thinking here and the involvement with fashion. Is it just because digital wearables? Is it NFTs connected to real world fashion pieces? Is it all of the above? Why the fashion angle?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things really. One is fashion has really adopted this whole NFT, and Web3 massively. And I think, one of the reasons for that is the whole rise of NFTs, and but there are so many angles leading to it. So fashion items, if you tokenize items on Boson Protocol, so you could take like a high-end designer handbag, and you can tokenize that on Boson into what is essentially an NFT voucher. And that voucher can now be traded. It can be transferred. You could send that to your sister who lives in the other side of the world. You could send her this NFT that's redeemable for the handbag. You could trade it. You could get special access to buy this handbag and then flip it on OpenSea. As I said, you could gift it, or you can redeem this NFT for the actual physical. But also Boson, these vouchers can also contain other NFTs. So you can have the digital twin within this within this sort of this kind of basket. You could have an NFT that authenticates the physical item, and all of these other things. So all of these kind of features together are really interesting for the fashion industry. So the fashion industry has been a real early adopter of this technology. And so, that's one of the reasons why Boson's been so heavily involved in that. I mean, I even, coincidentally, whilst doing my physics degree, my girlfriend at the time used started up and run her own sort of model agency in London. And so I basically in my part-time helped set up all the systems for it. So I've got lots of friends and I'm very familiar in that space as well, which is helpful. But yeah, the main driver is just the fashion industry is super hot for NFTs. And I think within the next couple of years, it's going to be unusual to buy a physical designer item and not get an NFT. And I think, likewise, if you buy a digital NFT, you're going to expect to get the physical. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's well said, Justin. And that must be quite a small circle of people around the world that have that sort of expert level expertise across, let's say, blockchain physics, high-end fashion, and modeling agencies. But so on the Boson Protocol website, Justin, and this is a great turn of phrase. You talk about NFTs with superpowers, right? And you've kind of been talking about this, but let's continue down that path. So however you want to kind of expand on it, what do you mean when you say NFTs with superpowers? So you talk about digital twins, token gated commerce, and I'm sure there is more coming down the product pipeline. So just start to describe this digital world that we're all increasingly living in, where we're going to play around with NFTs with superpowers.
Well, I mean, NFTs are sort of like unique objects, right? Unique digital objects. And so, if you look at objects in the real world, sure, I mean, you have things like art and stuff like that, but these are all like static objects. And NFTs have started out as static objects. But as objects, NFTs are quite different to physical things in that they're programmable, right? So, okay, we may have started out as, okay, I know, let's use this NFT for art, but like we're using NFTs as like this dynamic voucher, this basically, if you hold this NFT, it is a claim upon a physical asset. But it also can then be paired with twinned with a digital NFT, and it also can be token gated, and it can also unlock, and it can also contain authenticity. And so what you end up with is, these are like superpowers. These are objects with superpowers, and we're moving towards a world where all the things that you're going to buy are going to have, their authenticity, their linked to the NFT, their, kind of like their warranty linked to the NFT. You're going to be, the whole, we're doing a huge amount with like loyalty programs using Boson to support, to kind of build loyalty programs. So, you're going to be incentivizing the owners of these physical assets to engage with your loyalty program, and that will all be recorded via these sort of these sort of NFTs attached to the physical item. Another one is that because you're going to have this digital voucher attached to the physical, when someone goes to resell that physical, so say you spend $10,000 on a handbag, and this is a collectible and it resells, well, you're going to be reselling the physical and the digital, and because the digital is attached, it's like royalties on secondary sales, which is, another one of the features of Boson that's kind of really getting a lot of attention. So, this merging of physical and digital is happening, but digital is just inherently programmable and smart.
Yeah, very much so. And I suppose, I see that it has been projected that the revenue opportunities unlocked by this kind of, we'll just call it the metaverse trend, Web3, and protocols such as Boson could be a, 2 trillion economy across the next decade, as all mainstream brands around the world potentially will get involved as the next cycle plays out. But, Justin, a lot of brands dipped their toes in this kind of last wave of, NFT hype. But now, of course, we're in the crypto bear market. What have you noticed in terms of, I suppose, new brand inquiries, new users, all those kind of metrics? Are they significantly down, or is there still interest at the moment?
Well, I mean, I think what happened is all of the major brands have realized that the metaverse is the next big kind of interface, right? We had the web, and now we had social, and, we had mobile, and, all of them have put a budget against making sure that they are involved with the metaverse, and that they have, a plan to develop their Web3 capabilities. Now, whether that, has kind of been pared back a little bit or not, yeah, but perhaps, and I think, with the current economic climate, innovation budgets do get pared back a bit, but all of them kind of unanimously kind of get that Web3 is and the metaverse is the future. So we've got kind of multiple builds and launches that are coming up over the next kind of couple of months, and I think this will just accelerate. And we've seen these kind of we've seen these kind of booms and busts in technology before. I mean, the web was exactly the same, right? And when you zoom out and look over the long term, I mean, the web has now become the primary sort of medium. And I think, we'll be in the same way as we went from black and white TV to color TV. I think we're going to go from a 2D web to a 3D web. And people are going to look back and think, well, why would anyone ever think that we were going to stick with black and white TV? And they're going to think, why would anyone ever think we were going to stick with 2D web, right? It's exactly the same thing. I think in hindsight, it will be completely obvious that we will choose a color immersive 3D web, which is the metaverse, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more, Justin. Well, just as we finish off this part of the podcast, then, if that's the case, love for you to just describe what you see happening across that, say, next wave as we start to transition from, I don't know, black and white to 3D color, or however people like to imagine it. And, feel free to kind of weave in what you guys are working on, anything you have coming up.
Sure. I mean, what we're seeing is, from the metaverse angle, that, what Web3 enables is this exchange of value and this sharing and co-creation and sharing of value. And so, people talk a lot about kind of communities, etc., but we're going from a kind of, the relationship between brands and their audiences as being kind of like this broadcast relationship, which is like this one way, to it being kind of like a community, a conversation and feedback. And so all of these technologies are sort of are enabling that. And I think, whether it's like, Web3 enabled loyalty programs where, by programming these NFTs, you can program the rules and the rewards within the whole substrate. You don't need these kind of separate loyalty programs and systems, or whether it's more immersive, rewarding, gamified experiences in the metaverse. All of this is going to be a kind of much richer, more fun and, engaging and rewarding world for customers and consumers, and really fundamentally change the relationship with brands.
Couldn't agree more. Bring it on, Justin. It sounds good. All right. Well, let's go to a very quick break, and then we will come back and we'll finish off. We'll have some fun. We'll run Justin through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round. Back in 1 second.
For crypto indices and benchmarking, Brave New Coin's powerful indexing engine can calculate high-frequency intraday and end-of-day indices for a wide range of index products. Brave New Coin's custom indices team delivers experienced consultancy, premium data, and trusted calculation. Contact BNC today to find out more.
All right, we are back, and I'm with Justin Banon. Justin, of course, is the co-founder of the Boson Protocol, doing amazing things in Web3 and, helping bring all those big brands into the metaverse, of course. Justin, I like to finish each podcast just with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Up for it.
Up for it, Justin. Just going to run some questions at you. Just want your kind of honest opinions. Hot take style is kind of how we do it. Question one for you. A bit of a funny one, but where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
I believe that there will be a set of chains optimized for different purposes. So I would say a third of the way away from single chain like Bitcoin maximalism. Yeah. I do not believe there's going to be loads and loads of chains, and I definitely don't think there'll be one chain. I think that there will be domain-specific dominant chains. Yeah.
Interesting.
Like, one for commerce,
yep.
One for storing value, one for, kind of compute and stuff like that. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, what would you say then, Justin, is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
That in 10 years' time, people would think it's ridiculous to run any system of substantial value on a system, on anything other than a public blockchain. That it would be delinquent to store value in a opaque and hack-mutable way. Yeah,
absolutely. Delinquent indeed. And well, speaking of 10 years, Justin, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years, but underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. Right. So I suppose with that in mind, Web3, the metaverse, what does it look like in 10 years' time?
Well, I mean, Bill Gates may have said that. I tend to agree more with Ray Kurzweil, who says
yes.
that technological progress is happening exponentially. So whilst when we say this is going to take 10 years, the rate of technological progress is accelerating. Therefore, it's going to probably happen in 2. So I'm kind of more on the Ray Kurzweil side of things. I think we're getting compounding, accelerating progress.
Okay, well, if we're going with Kurzweil, then Kurzweil famously predicts that in the year 2045, an event that we'll describe as the singularity will happen, where essentially all these compounding technologies combine to make possible the advent of super AI, essentially. Do you see that taking place?
I think that is a natural consequence of exponential technological progress. So it will happen unless there is some kind of tapering of that progress. But that normally there is some tapering with an S-curve. I mean, Ray's argument is there are successive S-curves such that the exponential goes on forever. If that holds, then there will be a technological singularity. I am not convinced that the S-curves will, kind of be successive without some sort of break. So I don't believe that there will be a singularity in 2045, no.
Okay, and of course the other factor that needs to be factored in is whether we can avoid some kind of planet-wide humanity extinction event before that all takes place.
Yeah. I mean, when I did nuclear physics, the professor opened saying, the really scary thing about this course is there are 2 facts. One is mankind has built bigger and bigger weapons with a larger and larger blast radius. 2, mankind has always used them. So, kind of getting out, and I think that's where Elon Musk is, getting outside of the blast radius of our military technology is quite a big thing.
Yeah, jumping over the great filter, whatever that might be. Yeah. William Gibson famously said, Justin, that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. To kind of bring it back to the present time, with that in mind, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people just aren't really aware of it?
Well, I think that blockchain technologies are a great example of like this, the future rails of civilization. I should probably credit that to Trent McConaughey, the co-founder of Ocean, who great thinker and who I've borrowed that from. But I think also AI as well, right? I mean, it's here, and I think it's going to be becoming far more sort of ubiquitous and pervasive. So I think those 2 technologies and probably the crossover between them, is the future that's here but not evenly distributed.
Absolutely. And look, speaking of the future, and we've kind of been discussing this a bit, I guess, today, which I've enjoyed, Justin. But if we zoom out, what do you see as the long-term future for the human race? Do you see dystopia or utopia?
I think it depends upon whether or not we can become a multi-planetary species. I think that in the short term, we're largely dependent on whether or not we can get, kind of nuclear fusion in place, and there's been lots of advances on that. But nuclear fusion, I think, is the one thing that can avert climate disaster in the sort of short to medium term. Otherwise, we're really screwed. But in the long term, look, the Earth is a petri dish, and what happens when you put, some bacteria in a petri dish, or you put, some bacteria in a bottle of wine with sugar? Eventually, those organisms will consume all of that. And so, unless we can kind of spread to the vast resources across, the solar system and the universe, I think, that will be one of the great filters, right? It's like the great filter that impacts yeast in a wine bottle. They consume all their resources.
Absolutely.
But if we can keep crossing those and spread, then I think, I forget who said it, but, life is like the universe waking up and looking at itself. And I think, that there are fantastic opportunities for us to awaken the universe by spreading throughout it.
Yeah, there might have been Nick Bostrom or someone like that, but yeah, good quote. All right, let's finish this off, Justin. Finally, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
I guess one that people would probably recognize would be like 2001: The Space Odyssey. I think was pretty magical. Yeah,
great choice. Can't argue with that. Stanley Kubrick, of course. Justin, it's been fun talking to you. I've very much enjoyed having you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today. Just to finish off, please tell us what your Twitter handle is if you like to hang out and spend time on Twitter. And of course, tell people where they can go to learn more about the Boson Protocol and the kind of capabilities that it unlocks.
Absolutely. So for Boson, it's bosonprotocol.io and Twitter @Boson Protocol, and my Twitter handle is @Justin Banon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Justin. All the best, and bye for now.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
All right, there you go. That was Justin Banon from the Boson Protocol. Yeah, fascinating. Really do enjoy that intersection of Web3, Metaverse, blockchain protocols, digital wearables, NFTs, high-end fashion collectibles. Yeah, it's fascinating. And it is, Justin's exactly right. Fashion has been one of the early movers in Web3. And yeah, it just kind of makes sense, I think. Also really enjoyed doing the very famous Crypto Conversation Hot Take Round with Justin. Really got into singularity, S-curves, exponential growth, Ray Kurzweil, all that good stuff. Really, speaks to my areas of interest. So I enjoyed that one. And I hope you enjoyed that one as well, listeners. If you did, please don't forget to make sure you subscribe to the Crypto Conversation podcast in whatever podcast app you are using. If you really enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anything like that. Would really appreciate it. But hey, that's the end of the show, team. Thank you for listening. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin.